All right, here we go. We are going to review the most important aspects, grammar aspects of the chapter 6. But here there is a small review that will help you. This is in chapter 6. We talked about it, and I gave you another presentation. This is just a review. What we need to do is we need to remember how do we use the formulas, where do we place the direct object pronoun, and in chapter 6 we're going to learn where do you place the indirect object pronoun. So the direct object pronoun, or any pronoun actually, will go before any conjugative verb, like in this example, yo los voy a comprar, or it will go after the non-conjugative verb in one word, comprarlos. So the sentence will be yo voy a comprarlos. We do not use the pronoun with the conjugative verb. We decided to use it with the non-conjugative verb. So that is the direct object. Remember, how do we detect the direct object? We ask to the verb que. So in this example, the first example is ¿qué quiere leer María? María quiere leer un libro. That's the direct object. When we need, for different reasons, when we need to replace this direct object, then we use the pronoun Paul, pronombre del objeto directo. And here there is one example using the two formulas. María lo quiere leer, or quiere leerlo, or María quiere leerlo. So it's the same pronoun, the direct object, that means un libro, but it is in two different positions. Lo quiere leer, quiere leerlo. So that is for the direct object. And for this chapter, it's important that you remember the conjugations of verbo dar and verbo decir. Dar is only irregular in the first person, yo doy. And decir is irregular because it changes the e for e, and it also has the g in the first person. So it's digo, dices, dice, decimos never changes in nosotros, and then dicen. All right? So you know that what dar and decir and the conjugations are, right? That's important. Here it is, the indirect object. Here is what the things start a little bit more complicated for you, and it is important that you pay attention to this. Now, let's learn which one are the pronouns. The pronouns for the indirect object pronoun, the indirect objects are me, te, le, nos, les. Now, what is the indirect object pronoun? It's expressing to whom or for whom. And here are some examples. ¿A quién le dan ustedes las composiciones? Do you understand this question? ¿A quién le dan ustedes las composiciones? The answer will be ustedes le dan las composiciones a Laura. A Laura is the indirect object, and le is the indirect object pronoun that in this case doesn't replace but emphasizes. It emphasizes a Laura. The verb needs to know that there is going to be an indirect object, so we have to place the pronoun le every time we have an indirect object. You don't always have an indirect object, the same as you don't always have a direct object. But if you have an indirect object, you need to put the indirect object pronoun. And then you could, if it's not clear, you could put also the indirect object. So we have the indirect object pronoun and the indirect object. And the indirect object is always the recipient of an action. Always, always, always the recipient. And the next example says, ¿a quién le pides una sopa en el restaurante? Yo le pido una sopa al camarero en el restaurante. So the camarero is the person whom I'm going to ask for the sopa. So I ask him the sopa. Okay? So I know it is different in English because in English you won't say him the camarero. In Spanish we do say it. Alright? Yo le pido una sopa al camarero. I need, and it's mandatory to use the poi, which is the pronombre del objeto indirecto. It is not mandatory to say this. But because this is a question, I need to specify or emphasize who this le is. Right? And here's another example. ¿A quién le dice Laura que no deben usar el teléfono? Laura les dice a sus estudiantes que no deben usar el teléfono. So which one is the indirect object in this case? Right? I give you a second to think. Laura les dice a sus estudiantes que no deben usar el teléfono. The poi, pronombre del objeto indirecto, is les. And which one is the indirect object pronoun? Pause the video and see if you can tell me which one is the indirect object pronoun. Very well. Hopefully you got it. The indirect object is a sus estudiantes. Alright? That is the indirect object. And this is the poi, pronombre del objeto indirecto. As you notice, we're using the same position, but now instead of being por, pronombre del objeto directo, now we're using the poi, pronombre del objeto indirecto. Yo voy a darle el libro a Marta if I'm using the non-conjugative verb with the poi. Or if I'm using if I decided to place the poi before the conjugative verb, then here's the example. Yo le voy a dar el libro a Marta. A Marta in both cases is not necessary. It's not mandatory. You can put it, like I said before, to emphasize, but you don't have to. The one that is mandatory is the le, that you can put it before or you can put it after. Alright, so here I have some examples all mixed up. Let's say if we can form something with all this. So I have carta, you know what carta is? This is a carta. And I have tú. Let's see if I say, ¿a quién le damos la carta? And I want to say, let's see, I need a subject, tú. So I'm going to choose the subject tú. And then I'm going to choose, let me erase everything else. So tú is going to be the subject. Which one of these verbs, and again, pause the video and respond the answer. Which one of these verbs will go if I have tú? Perfecto, muy bien. Tú das. Tú das. So I do have the subject. I do have the most important part of the verb. Now, you know that after the conjugative verb, we need the object, ¿no es cierto? So which one is the object in this case? Muy bien. La carta is the object. Tú das la carta. But now, there's going to be an indirect object. I want to say that I give this letter, see, to, let's say, No, it's you, sorry. That you give this letter to us. So yes, which one will be the recipient of the letter? Is it a ella, a mí, a usted, a nosotros, a ellos, or a ti, if I said to us? Of course, it is a nosotros. So I have this confidence in the sentence. I have tú das la carta a nosotros. Once I have a nosotros, then I know that I need to tell the verb that is going to be that there's going to be an indirect object in the sentence, a recipient of this carta. So which one of this is the pronoun for a nosotros? Perfect, very well. The pronoun is nos, and I need to put it before the conjugative verb and make it a different word. So that's how the sentence will end. Tú no das la carta a nosotros.